Let me just ask you, just is a little tangential, but on that notion of a constitutional convention. I mean, I've heard different theories about this, about how wide open an Article 5 Constitution would be, and that there are two different sort of methodologies to holding these constitutional conventions. I mean, is there? And in fact, there are those on the left who are trying to convene a form of a constitutional convention, I guess, by going to states and having specific states offer a constitutional convention specifically for the purpose of essentially reversing Citizens United and its the
Right.
pedigree of cases that led up to that. I mean, is that possible? I mean, what do you know from a
I
historic?
think if there is a constitutional convention, I think that is I understand the frustration with Citizens United, and I understand why people on the left might want to do something like that. I think that would be the most strategically foolish thing anyone on the left or liberal could do at this moment in history. Because the thing is, the left is totally disorganized. You know, our labor unions are reeling. There is no real left. You know, it's a motley collection of people with good intentions who have lots of talents, but who have no, commonly agreed upon strategy or view or organization. Any such constitutional convention will be utterly and totally dominated by this group, which is very well organized and has been very well organized for years. So I actually think in some ways, too, this talk about impeaching Trump, I wonder how, the Koch operations, I sort of imagine them like, kind of rubbing their hands together and saying, yeah, impeach him, and then say we have to have a constitutional convention to prevent somebody like him from getting into power because we will take over that convention. I don't think people understand at all how well organized, how deeply rooted, and how broad and systematic these operations are that Koch, the Koch donor network is funding. I'm actually working on some digital graphics to go with book talks to help people see that because, it's just the detail can be mind-numbing. But, I mean, there are literally hundreds of organizations that are ostensibly separate that are working together to make this happen, and they collectively involve just mind-numbing amounts of money. So I think that the best thing the left can do, and I don't want to just say the left, because frankly, I think moderate Republicans, have a stake in this. Ordinary Republican voters, their politicians are not representing their desires anymore. Their politicians are afraid of challenges from the Club for Growth and Freedom Partners and all the rest of it, and so they are answering to the donors and not to the voters' concerns and interests. And so the best thing I think that people who are concerned about the future of our democracy can do is to get engaged, to get out and talk to their neighbors, to do basic things like canvassing, not histrionics, not, panicking, wild gestures, none of that. Get out and rebuild democracy and popular power from the bottom up, get people involved in these basic conversations about, what is a democracy, why do we have it, what is fairness, what do we need to do to achieve fairness. All of that, I think, is what we really need to be doing. Now, I will say there are some things, though, on the left that are challenging this enterprise that I think are really smart. Like there's something called the National Popular Vote Project,
yes, the NPV.
Which basically approaches states and says, gets them to agree to pledge their electoral college representatives to whatever the popular vote decides.
Yes.
There are some things like that I think, are good, and they also engage people in talking to their neighbors, and making basic arguments about democracy and helping people understand how our system does not represent one person, one vote in a fair way. If you're from California, your vote is nothing compared to the vote of somebody from Wyoming in the Senate, right? So there's lots of things that we need to alert people to, and there are, particular measures that will be helpful. But I think the worst thing that anybody on the left could do in this particular environment with this long building Koch project is to have any talk about a constitutional convention. If it were me, anytime that subject comes up, I would put the brakes on, because even conservative judges, I believe it was Rehnquist said that this would be a disaster, that there would be no, there are rules about how to get this constitutional convention there, but we haven't had one since 1787.
Right. Well, that is my concern with the project.
There are no rules, so the strongest and best organized power will win.
That has been my concern with those type of things.
Yeah.
Hi, folks. Sam Seder here. We still need your help on our Patreon page. YouTube ads have come back, but not nearly as much as we had before. So if you can help us out, any little bit helps. Head over to our Patreon page right at this URL, and you'll help us keep helping you by making videos